Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you two simple but powerful router hacks. The first one will be about filters. I have a simple scenario here, and here I have a filter. Now this filter is still kind of simple, but sometimes you have filters with multiple AND conditions, then you mix it with some OR rules, then you again add more AND conditions, etc. And it's very hard to maintain those filters and actually even understand them, what exactly they are filtering. And so I want to show you a simple trick which can make this filter management easier. So let's look at our sample data and the output we get. So here I have 7 bundles and they represent each day of the week, and every day has date type, so it's either weekday or weekend, and temperature on that date. And what we want to do is that we want to filter for days where the temperature is greater than 15 but less than 30 and the day is not weekend. So the result in my case will be Friday, right? If we look at the input bundles, we can see that only Friday meets the condition, and of course the original filter worked. If I run it, it's all good. But now let's say this filter is super complicated and maybe you are running like 8 or 5 other different conditions. And maybe you are looking for ways to break down your filters into more manageable chunks. So in that case, what I usually do, I introduce router in my scenario, and I basically take apart the individual elements of the filter and I construct a cascade of filters. So what I'm gonna do now is that I'm gonna first create a filter for all days where the temperature was greater than 15. Then I will filter down to days when it was 30. And then finally, I will exclude all weekend days. And by doing so, my complex, or rather complex filter in this case, will become more manageable. And I will also get to see which bundles pass through which filter more easily than if I have to, for example, scroll here through 1,000 different bundles and wait for this panel to load, etc. So the trick is very simple. I'm going to just take this apart. And I'm going to start adding some routers. Now, you might be wondering, why router? Like, why not something else? Well, it's simple. A router does not cost any operations to run. So you can chain as many routers behind each other as you want. So it's a nice placeholder module just to create extra space for your filters. So let's do the first one. So I will do all days where temperature is greater than 15. Let's call it like this. Then I will add a new router. Here I will add a filter where the temperature is less than 30. And finally, I will add my final filter here saying that I'm only after days which are not weekend days. Okay, so now essentially I will get, of course, the same result, right? So if I did it correctly, I should get Friday. So let's run it and see. Friday. So the same result as before, but now my filters are manageable, probably better than in the previous case, right? So now I have one rule here, right? And I can see easily which bundles pass just this rule. Then from those 4 bundles, I can easily tell which met this new condition. And then finally, from these 3 bundles, I can easily tell which met the condition for the data, which we established that we don't want to get any weekend days. And of course, yep, as I said, the result is still the same, but by taking apart the original rather complex filter and breaking it into this cascade of filters, which really don't cost me anything extra, I brought more visibility into my scenario, right? And it's much easier for me to debug this in future. So I use this simple hack when I am building complex filters pretty much every single time now. Okay, this is it. This was the first hack, and now let's look at the other one. So I'm gonna slightly adjust my scenario. Okay, so my scenario is adjusted now, and there is 5 steps, and when you run the scenario, it works somehow. It's not perfect, we get different results, but it runs. Now, sometimes, again, when you work on complex scenarios, you are looking for easy way to put a temporary stop to the scenario between a module. So probably most of you, what you are gonna do is you are gonna unlink the scenario and you are gonna run just this part, right? And then you will test, maybe you'll do some adjustments, and then you will relink it back. But because I want to be as efficient as possible and I don't really like unlinking and then relinking, what I usually do in my case is that I put a router which doesn't really route or filter anything, and I only use it to put the temporary stops between the modules. So of course you can still disable this route, right? So now, I can run this as many times as I want. And then when I'm done with my fixes or upgrades, I'm just gonna enable this, and then the full scenario will run. So again, very simple trick, but it saves you some unlinking and relinking, and it doesn't really cost you any extra operations because we don't charge for router. As I said, this video is a rather shorter one, but I hope that these simple hacks can make your life easier.